In the far reaches of the galaxy, beyond the rings of the blue giant star Orathis, the Zelthari Empire and the Human Federation had been at war for years. Both sides had suffered great losses, and peace seemed like a dream no one could reach. The Zelthari were proud, elegant beings, tall, silver-eyed, and known for their advanced science and long lifespans. Humans, though younger and less advanced, had earned a reputation for being stubborn and brave, refusing to give up even when outnumbered or outgunned. Among the Zelthari, few were as respected as Princess Alera Vera, daughter of Emperor Thalin. She was not only a leader, but also a symbol of hope for her people. Her wisdom, calm voice, and sharp mind made her beloved among soldiers and citizens alike. But behind her strength, Alera carried a deep sorrow, a wound that never healed. Years ago, during a mission to form peace with the Human Federation, her husband, Prince Kale, had vanished. His ship had been caught in a sudden wormhole storm, torn apart by forces no one could control. Alera had watched helplessly from her cruiser as the light swallowed him whole. His body was never found. The scientist told her that the wormhole destroyed everything inside it, but her heart had always whispered that he was still out there, somewhere among the stars. Now, after 7 long years, the war had grown worse. The humans had developed a new type of plasma weapon capable of piercing Zelthari shields, and the Empire was on the defensive. Alera, though still grieving, refused to stay behind royal walls. She requested to join the front lines, not as a princess, but as a commander. When her ship, the Silver Dawn, arrived on the battlefield above a ruined moon called Nerith Prime, she was ready to prove that she was more than just a royal figure. The planet below was once a research colony, now reduced to a wasteland by years of battle. Alera led a small group of soldiers on a mission to retrieve an ancient power core buried beneath the moon's surface, something both sides wanted desperately. As her team entered the shattered ruins, they found themselves trapped between enemy fire and collapsing structures. Plasma bolts tore through the dust and her guards fell one by one. Alera shouted commands, trying to lead her people to safety, but the human soldiers had them surrounded. Then, through the smoke and chaos, a figure in human armor appeared, tall, strong, carrying a glowing energy blade. His movements were fast, precise, almost graceful. He fought not like a machine, but like someone who understood every motion as part of a dance. Alera expected him to attack her next, but instead, he charged toward the ambushing humans that threatened her unit. One by one, he disarmed them, protecting the Zelthari soldiers with surprising skill. When the fight ended, silence filled the ruined chamber. The armored human turned, facing Alera. His helmet retracted, revealing a man with sharp eyes, brown hair, and a calm, steady face. There was something familiar about him, something in the way he stood, in the tone of his voice when he spoke. "Are you hurt?" he asked in clear Zelthari, though his accent was slightly rough. Alera stared at him, confused. "You speak our language?" He gave a short nod. "I learned it years ago. Name's Commander Ethan Vale, Human Federation Special Forces. Your mission isn't safe here. The next strike will level this place. You need to move." Alera hesitated. Why would a human help her? But there was something in his eyes, not cold or calculating, but kind, almost protective. Against all logic, she decided to trust him. With his help, her team escaped through an underground passage. When they reached the surface, the wreckage of ships and burned metal stretched across the horizon. The once beautiful moon had become a graveyard of machines. Alera's ship had been destroyed in the attack, leaving her stranded with a few soldiers and this mysterious human warrior. Ethan used his communicator, but the signal was jammed. They had no choice but to take shelter in an abandoned mining facility nearby. Inside the dark tunnels, they set up temporary lights and treated the wounded. Alera watched Ethan as he worked. He was focused and calm, moving with quiet confidence. His uniform bore no rank markings, and his equipment looked different from standard human designs. When one of her guards asked him why he saved them, Ethan simply said, "Because I don't believe every war needs to end in death." His words surprised her. Most humans she had met were soldiers trained to fight without question. But Ethan spoke with thought, with understanding. Later, when the others rested, Alera sat near the flickering lights thinking. She could not shake the feeling that she had met him before. The way he looked at her. It was as if he knew her, as if her face was a memory buried deep inside him. When Ethan came to check her shoulder, which had been grazed by a blast, his hand brushed against hers. For a moment, a strange warmth filled the air. Not just physical warmth, but something deeper, almost like energy connecting their hearts. Alara blinked, startled by the feeling. It was impossible. Her bonded mate had died long ago. The soul bond they shared was unique, something that only formed once in a lifetime. No one else could make her feel it again, and yet, she felt it now. "Commander," she said softly, "you fight like someone trained in Zelthari combat. That technique you used, it's not human. Where did you learn it?" Ethan looked away for a moment as if searching his memory. "I don't know," he admitted. "Sometimes when I fight, I just remember things. Patterns, movements, places. But they're not from my life, or at least not the life I remember." "What do you mean?" Alara asked gently. He hesitated. "Before I joined the Federation, I was found in an escape pod drifting near the edge of the Nabari Rift. I had no ID, no records, no past. The doctors said I was lucky to be alive. I don't remember anything before that, only flashes of light, a storm, and a voice calling my name. But even that name, Ethan Vale, it was given to me. I'm not sure it's mine." Alara felt her breath catch. A wormhole storm. A voice calling a name. Her heart began to race. "What was the name you heard?" she asked quickly. Ethan frowned as if trying to recall something long buried. "Kale," he said finally. "Someone was calling Kale, but I don't know who that was." "Maybe a dream." Alara froze. Her hands trembled. That name, Kyle, was the name of her husband. She stared at him, struggling to keep her voice steady. "And you have no memory before the escape pod?" He shook his head slowly. "None that makes sense. Just feelings. And sometimes when I see certain stars, it feels like I've been there before." Alara turned away, her mind spinning. The universe was vast, full of strange coincidences, but this could not be just chance. The voice, the fighting style, the same kind eyes, and that name. When Ethan saw her expression, concern filled his face. "Are you all right, Princess?" "Yes," she said quietly, "just thinking." She looked at him again, the firelight reflecting in her silver eyes. Deep inside, she felt something awaken, the faint pulse of a soul bond she thought was gone forever. Ethan didn't understand why he felt drawn to her. He only knew that being near her filled him with calm and a strange sense of belonging. As they sat in silence, the storm outside grew stronger, thunder echoing across the barren moon. Neither of them spoke again that night, but both felt the same quiet truth. Their meeting was not an accident. It was destiny moving again, whispering through the stars. And though neither yet knew the full truth, one thing was clear. This human warrior was far more than he appeared. Somewhere deep within his forgotten memories, the lost prince of Zelthar still lived, waiting to awaken. The storm on Nareth Prime continued through the night. Heavy winds carried dust across the wasteland, covering the ruins in gray fog. Inside the mining tunnels, Princess Alara could not sleep. Every time she closed her eyes, she saw Ethan Vale's face, and every time she heard the name he had spoken, Kale. That single word kept echoing inside her heart. Kale had been her husband, the man she had loved beyond measure, and now this human warrior, who had saved her life and fought like a Zelthari knight, claimed to hear that same name in his dreams. She tried to tell herself it was a coincidence. Maybe he had heard the name from a story or a battle record. Maybe it was just a trick of memory. But deep down she could not lie to herself. The way he looked at her, the gentle calm in his voice, even his fighting stance, everything reminded her of Kale. The next morning, the storm finally calmed. Weak sunlight broke through the clouds, shining on the cracked surface of the moon. Ethan and the remaining Zelthari soldiers began checking supplies. Their communication devices were still jammed, and the rescue ships had not arrived. Alara approached Ethan as he examined a damaged scanner. "Commander Vale," she said softly, "how far are we from your base?" Ethan looked at his wrist device. "At least 30 kilometers. But with this terrain, it will take us 2 days to walk there. Then we should leave before nightfall," Alara said. "We cannot wait here forever." He nodded, but his eyes were thoughtful. "You're not safe out here, Princess. The war zones are unpredictable, and your people might not trust a human walking beside their ruler." Alara smiled faintly. You saved my life. I will trust you until I have reason not to." Her words made him pause. He didn't know why her trust mattered so much, but it did. When she looked at him, he felt something he hadn't felt in years: peace. They began their journey across the barren plains. The group moved carefully through the ruins of old structures. Strange alien machines stood half-buried in the dust, reminders of civilizations long gone. As they walked, Ethan noticed Alara's curiosity. She touched the carvings on the walls, whispering quiet translations of old Zelthari script. "These ruins were once part of the First Empire," she said. "Our ancestors studied energy crystals here. They believed these crystals connected to the stars." Ethan raised an eyebrow. "Connected? Like a power source?" "More than that," she replied. "The Zelthari believed life itself is part of a cosmic pattern. Every soul is a spark that travels across galaxies. When one spark fades, it may return in another form." Ethan listened quietly. Her words stirred something deep inside him, a strange warmth that reminded him of dreams he could never fully remember. By evening, the group reached a broken bridge overlooking a deep canyon. The only way across was through a narrow metal beam still hanging between the cliffs. One soldier tested it and nodded. It held firm. Ethan crossed first, then guided Alara carefully. The wind howled below them, but she didn't falter. Halfway across, a sudden tremor shook the bridge. Alara slipped, and before she could fall, Ethan grabbed her wrist. For a moment, their eyes met, and time seemed to stop. The touch between them was electric. Alara felt that same pulse again, the unmistakable energy of a soul bond. It was weak but real. Her heart raced as Ethan pulled her to safety. "Are you all right?" he asked, his voice full of concern. "Yes," she whispered, staring at him in disbelief. "You caught me just like—" She stopped herself before finishing the sentence. Ethan tilted his head. "Just like who?" She forced a small smile. "No one. Just a memory." They continued walking in silence. But inside Alara's heart, the truth grew louder. It could not be coincidence anymore. That night, they made camp inside an old facility built into the cliffs. Ethan worked on repairing a broken transmitter using pieces from his armor. Alara sat nearby, watching the small blue sparks light the darkness. "Do you ever wonder who you were before?" she asked quietly. Ethan looked up, his hands pausing. "Every day," he admitted. "Sometimes I dream of faces I don't know, places I've never been. There's a woman with silver eyes always reaching for me. When I wake up, I feel empty, like something was taken from me long ago." Alara's heart ached. "And yet you kept fighting." "You built a new life," he smiled softly. "Maybe that's what humans do best. We keep moving even when we don't understand the reason." For a moment, they both sat in silence, listening to the wind outside. Then Alara noticed something on his wrist, a small mark, almost hidden under the edge of his sleeve. She leaned closer, eyes widening. It was a crescent-shaped symbol with two intersecting lines, the same symbol that marked the bond between royal Zelthari mates. Her breath caught. "Where did you get that?" Ethan looked down. "This mark? I don't know. It was already there when I was found." The doctors thought it was a scar. Alara reached out, her hand trembling slightly. "This is not a scar. It is a Zelthari symbol. Only those who share a life bond carry it." Ethan stared at her in confusion. "A life bond?" She nodded slowly. "It connects two souls across time and space. When one is in danger, the other can feel it. When one is lost, the bond fades but never dies." Ethan looked at her, his voice quiet. "You think I'm one of your people?" "I don't know," Alara said truthfully. "But this mark, your dreams, the way you fight. None of it is human." He gave a small, uncertain laugh. "Then what am I, princess?" She met his gaze, her eyes shining softly. Maybe someone who was never meant to be lost. Before Ethan could respond, his transmitter beeped. The signal had returned. A faint voice crackled through the static. A distress call from a nearby Zelthari outpost. "They're alive," Alara said, relief flooding her face. "We can reach them by morning." Ethan packed up his tools. "Then we move at dawn." As the others slept, Alara stayed awake, staring at the mark on Ethan's wrist. Her thoughts drifted to the day she had lost Kale, the blinding wormhole, the explosion, and the bond fading to silence. The scientist had told her the wormhole destroyed everything, but what if it had changed him instead? What if the storm had rewritten his very being, turning her Zelthari husband into a human soldier with no memory of who he truly was? The thought both terrified and filled her with hope. The next morning they began their final march to the outpost. The landscape grew harsher, filled with black stones and metallic dust. As they neared the signal's source, the remains of old research buildings appeared. Faded banners with the Zelthari crest fluttered weakly in the wind. Inside the outpost, they found only a few surviving scientists. One of them, an elderly Zelthari named Dr. Senar, recognized the princess immediately. "Your Highness, thank the stars you're alive." Alara smiled faintly. "I owe my life to this human. Commander Ethan Vale." The doctor turned to Ethan, studying him closely. "A human saved our princess? Remarkable." But then, as his eyes fell on Ethan's wrist mark, his expression changed. "That symbol, where did you get it?" Ethan sighed. "Everyone keeps asking that question." "I told her I don't know." Dr. Senar moved closer. "That mark belongs to the royal bonding ritual, the one shared by Prince Kale and Princess Alara." Ethan blinked. "Prince Kale?" "Yes," the doctor said. "He vanished years ago in a wormhole storm. His body was never found." Alara watched silently, her heart beating faster. Dr. Senar turned back to her. "Your Highness, if I may, we still have the old DNA scanner from the Royal Archives. We could compare his genetic pattern to the records of the late prince." Alara hesitated. Her voice trembled. "Do it." Ethan looked confused but agreed. He placed his hand on the scanner as the machine hummed softly. A holographic light swirled around him, then displayed glowing symbols in the air. Dr. Senar's eyes widened. "Impossible." "It's a perfect match. His DNA is identical to Prince Kale's." Ethan stepped back in shock. "That can't be. I'm human." "No," the doctor said quietly. "You were Zeltharium, but the wormhole must have changed you. It altered your body, erased your memory, and remade you as one of them." Alara felt tears welling in her eyes. She stepped forward slowly, her voice barely above a whisper. "Kale, you came back to me." Ethan looked at her, confusion and emotion mixing in his eyes. I don't understand." She reached out, touching his hand gently. "You don't need to understand right now. You just need to remember." And in that moment, as her fingers touched his, a rush of light filled Ethan's mind, fragments of memories flashing like stars in motion. Alara's laughter, the royal gardens, their wedding under twin moons. He gasped and fell to his knees, holding his head. "I see it. I see everything." Alara knelt beside him, tears streaming down her face. "Welcome home, my love." The lost warrior had been found, but the truth had only begun to unfold. For a long moment, no one in the outpost spoke. The quiet hum of the old machines filled the air as everyone stared at the holographic results. The scanner had confirmed it beyond all doubt. The human warrior commander Ethan Vale was actually Prince Kale of Zelthar, lost for years and believed dead. Princess Alara stood frozen, her eyes filled with tears. She had dreamed of this day for so long, the day her husband would return. But now that he stood before her, alive yet changed beyond recognition, she didn't know what to say. Ethan or Kale sat on the cold metal floor, holding his head as fragments of memory rushed through his mind. Bright lights, a crashing ship, a blinding storm of colors, a voice calling his name through the chaos, Alara's voice, then darkness. He remembered waking up in a strange place, surrounded by humans, his body unfamiliar, his face different. His past had been erased, but his heart had still carried a piece of her, a voice he could never forget. Now everything made sense. The dreams, the strange instincts, the feeling that he didn't belong anywhere. Dr. Senar broke the silence, his voice trembling. "Your Highness, this is beyond understanding. The wormhole didn't destroy him. It must have rewritten his form at the molecular level. He became human in body, but his essence remained the same." Alara knelt beside Ethan. Her hand rested on his shoulder. "Kale," she said softly, "do you remember me now?" Ethan looked up at her, eyes uncertain but full of emotion. "I remember flashes," he whispered. "The palace, the gardens, you in a white gown. I remember the way you smiled at me. But it's all pieces, scattered and broken." Her heart ached. "That's enough for now," she said gently. "Memories will return in time." He nodded weakly. "All this time I thought I was just a soldier. I thought I was human. But if what you say is true, then who am I supposed to be now?" Alara didn't have an answer. That night, while the others repaired the communication systems, she and Ethan stood outside the outpost, watching the stars. the silver glow of distant suns reflected in Alara's eyes. Ethan looked at her and felt a strange peace, as if after years of wandering he had finally found home. "Do you ever think," Ethan asked quietly, "that the stars decide who we are?" Alara turned to him, her expression calm and thoughtful. "Perhaps they do not decide. They only guide. We choose how to follow," he smiled faintly. "That sounds like something you used to tell me." She looked at him in surprise. "You remember that?" "A little," he said. It came back just now. For the first time, her heart filled with hope. His memories were returning, slowly, like the first light of dawn breaking after a long night. But peace would not last. Before sunrise, a warning siren echoed through the outpost. A Zelthari guard rushed in, his voice urgent. "Princess, human scout ship has found us. They're approaching fast." Ethan's instincts took over. "We have to move. They'll call reinforcements." The scientists gathered their equipment as Alara and Ethan led them through the tunnels. Outside, the morning sky burned red as small human drones circled the area. Ethan shot one down, then turned to Alara. "If they capture you, they'll end the truce talks completely." "You can't be seen here," Alara frowned. "And what about you?" "I'll distract them," he said. "I'm still part of their ranks. I can buy us time." She grabbed his arm. "No, you just came back to me. I will not lose you again." He met her gaze, his voice calm. "You won't, trust me." Reluctantly, she nodded. Ethan walked out into the open, raising his weapon skyward. The drone scanned him, recognizing his Federation armor. Within minutes, a shuttle descended and human soldiers surrounded him. "Commander Vale," shouted their captain. "We thought you were lost. What are you doing here with alien forces?" Ethan stood firm. "These people are not our enemies. There's something you need to know." "The war? Save it for headquarters," the captain interrupted coldly. "You'll explain everything to command." Ethan was taken aboard the shuttle and flown to the nearest human fleet. As the ship lifted off, Alara watched from the shadows, her heart heavy. She wanted to follow him, but she knew she couldn't. If she was captured, the fragile balance between the two races could collapse. When the human ship disappeared into the clouds, she turned to Dr. Sanar. "We're going after him," she said firmly. "Your Highness," the doctor warned, "if the humans find out who he really is, then they will understand," Alara said, "because he will make them understand." Meanwhile, aboard the Federation flagship Resolute, Ethan faced questioning from Admiral Rowan, a stern man with gray hair and sharp eyes. "You were seen protecting Zelthari soldiers, Commander," the Admiral said. "Explain yourself." Ethan took a deep breath. "Because this war is built on lies," he said. "The Zelthari didn't start it. We both made mistakes, and if we continue, we'll destroy everything, even ourselves." The Admiral frowned. "That's not your decision to make, soldier. You're a Federation officer. You swore to follow orders." Ethan looked him straight in the eye. "I swore to protect humanity. But what if protecting humanity means ending this war instead of feeding it?" Rowan's expression hardened. "You've been influenced, maybe captured and brainwashed. Until further notice, you're confined to quarters." Guards escorted Ethan away. In his room, he stared out the window at the endless sea of stars. His reflection looked back at him. Human in every feature, but inside he could feel something stirring. The memories of his past life grew clearer each hour. He remembered his wedding to Alara beneath the twin moons of Zelthar. He remembered promising her that no matter where fate took them, he would always find his way back. Now he finally understood. Fate had kept that promise. He looked down at the glowing mark on his wrist. It pulsed faintly, as if answering a call only he could hear. He closed his eyes and whispered, "Alara, I'll find you again." Back on Nerith Prime, Alara and Dr. Sanar managed to send a coded message to the Zelthari command. Reinforcements were coming. When they arrived, Alara gave her report to her father, Emperor Thalin. The Emperor listened in silence. When she finished, he rose from his throne, his face both stern and sorrowful. "You are telling me," he said slowly, "that your human rescuer is actually my son-in-law, transformed by a wormhole and living among the very people who now fight us?" "Yes, Father," Alara said firmly, "and I believe he can end this war. He carries both worlds within him." Thalen paced for a moment. "If what you say is true, then he is the key. But the humans will never believe it without proof." "Then I must go to them," Alara said. "I will speak before their leaders." That is dangerous, Thalen warned. They will see you as an enemy. Then let them, she said, because sometimes peace begins with courage, not comfort. The Emperor looked at his daughter with pride and fear in equal measure. Very well, he said at last, but you will not go alone. 2 days later, disguised as traders, Alera and a small team boarded a neutral cargo ship heading toward the human fleet. They carried data proving the wormhole's energy could alter DNA, evidence of what had happened to Kale. When they arrived, Ethan was still confined aboard the Resolute. But when he saw her step through the security doors wearing a plain cloak, his heart almost stopped. Alera, he whispered, stunned. She smiled softly. Did you think I would let you face this alone? Before they could speak further, Admiral Rowan entered the room with armed guards. You're under arrest, he said to Alera, for trespassing and espionage. Alera stood tall. I am not here as an enemy. I am here to show you the truth. Rowan hesitated as Dr. Sinar stepped forward with the data crystal. This contains recordings from the wormhole research, he explained. It shows exactly how Prince Kale of Zelthar vanished, and how he was reborn as Commander Ethan Vale. Rowan frowned, unsure whether to believe them. But Ethan stepped closer, his voice steady. Admiral, you've known me for years. Have I ever lied to you? The Admiral hesitated, then gestured for a technician to play the data. As the holographic images filled the air, showing the wormhole storm, the DNA transformation, and the exact match between Ethan and Kale, silence fell over the room. When it ended, Rowan's face softened. Then the war has been killing the same man twice, he said quietly. Ethan nodded. You can stop it now. Help me end this. Rowan slowly lowered his weapon. What do you propose? Ethan looked at Alera. A meeting. One last chance for both sides to listen. Before more worlds burn. The Admiral nodded reluctantly. I'll arrange it. As the guard stepped aside, Ethan turned to Alera. For the first time since the war began, hope flickered in both their eyes. They had found each other again, but the hardest battle was still ahead. The stars above Nerith Prime burned bright, their light cutting through the darkness of war. Human and Zelthari fleets surrounded the planet like two storms ready to collide. Both sides prepared for a final battle, one that would decide the fate of two civilizations. Ethan Vale stood on the command deck of his human flagship, staring at the screen filled with hundreds of glowing warships. His heart was heavy. He was a human soldier, raised by Earth's people, yet deep inside him the soul of Prince Kale of Zelthar still lived. The memories Alera had unlocked now refused to rest. Every breath he took carried a strange mix of two worlds, human logic and Zelthari emotion. He knew one thing clearly. If this battle began, millions would die. Beside him stood Captain Rhea, his loyal officer and friend. Commander, she said quietly, the fleet is ready. Orders? Ethan didn't answer at first. His eyes focused on the enemy formation. Among those ships, the royal flagship Zeltharis Dawn floated, and somewhere inside was Alera. He took a deep breath. No one fires unless I say so, he ordered. Rhea frowned. Sir, the Council gave direct attack orders. They won't wait much longer. Ethan looked at her with calm strength. Then they can court-martial me after this. But I won't let us start something that ends everything. On the Zelthari flagship, Princess Alera watched the same view. The dark sea of space filled with ships, ready to rain fire. Her chest ached with fear and hope. She had spent days convincing her council to delay the attack, arguing that the human warrior Ethan Vale was not their enemy, but her lost husband, Prince Kale reborn in human form. Many had called her foolish. Some even called her a traitor, but she didn't care. Her heart knew the truth. Now she stood in silence, her silver eyes searching for his ship among the stars. Your Highness, said her guard, General Thalos, our scanners show the human flagship is not moving. They are holding position. Her pulse quickened. He's waiting, she whispered. He's trying to stop this war. Thalos frowned. Princess, if we do not strike first, they will. The Council demands action. Alera turned to him with firm resolve. No, I will not let our people destroy themselves over fear. Prepare a communication channel. I will speak to him directly. Moments later, Ethan's screen lit up. The familiar face appeared, Alera, her expression calm yet full of emotion. For a few seconds, neither spoke. The silence between them carried more meaning than any words could. Finally, Ethan said softly, "Alara." Her voice trembled slightly. "Kale or Ethan? I don't know which name is yours now." He gave a small, tired smile. "Both. Maybe I'm something new, something between them." Alara's eyes shone with tears she tried to hold back. "Then let that man, the one who carries both, be the bridge that saves us all." Ethan looked away for a moment. "I want to, but they won't listen. The Council thinks peace is weakness. They believe the Zelthari can't change." "Then show them they are wrong," she said firmly. "Show them what a human heart and a Zelthari soul can do, together." Her courage sparked something inside him, the same feeling he had when he first led men into hopeless battles and turned defeat into victory. Ethan turned to Captain Rhea. "Patch me through to both fleets. Full broadcast." Rhea hesitated. "Sir, that's a direct violation of—" "Just do it," he said. A moment later his voice echoed across space, transmitted to every ship, human and Zelthari alike. "This is Commander Ethan Vale of Earth Fleet, or as some of you will soon learn, Prince Kale of Zelthar. I was born in one world, but I belong to two. Years ago I was lost in a wormhole accident. My body changed, my memories erased. I was found and raised as a human. I fought for Earth because I believed in protecting life." He paused, breathing deeply. "Now I remember everything. I remember the woman I loved, the vows I made, and the promise I broke when I disappeared. Princess Alara, my wife, stands on the other side of this war. But she is not my enemy. Neither are her people. This war began from fear, not truth. I have seen the strength of humans, and I have felt the wisdom of Zelthari. We are not so different." Across the fleet, soldiers stopped and listened. Captains hesitated. Commanders exchanged glances. His words carried more weight than any weapon. On the Zelthari flagship, Alara watched silently, her hands trembling with pride. Ethan continued, "I stand here not as a soldier, not as a prince, but as a man who belongs to both worlds. I will not let either side destroy what could be saved. If anyone still wishes to fight, they will have to go through me." As his message ended, silence filled space. For a few moments it seemed like the fleets would ignore him. Engines hummed, cannons glowed, and commanders waited for orders. Then something unexpected happened. A human captain's voice came through the open channel. "Commander Vale, standing down weapons." "Maybe he's right." "We've lost enough good people." Another voice followed, a Zelthari commander this time. "The princess speaks truth. We will not fire." One by one, ship by ship, lights on the targeting systems began to fade. The tension in space broke like a wave pulling back into calm waters. Alara smiled faintly. "You did it," she whispered. But before Ethan could answer, an explosion rocked his ship. A rogue missile, fired by a radical human ship that refused to stand down, struck the side of his flagship. Sparks filled the bridge. "Damage on deck 3, shouted Rhea. "We've lost stabilizers." Ethan gritted his teeth. "Evacuate the crew to escape pods." "I'll hold the command." Rhea grabbed his arm. "You can't stay, sir." He shook his head. "If I leave now, they'll think my words were empty. Go." On the Zelthari flagship, Alara saw the blast and panic filled her heart. "Ethan!" she cried. Without hesitation, she ordered her ship forward, breaking formation. Her officers shouted in confusion, but she didn't care. She had already lost him once. She would not lose him again. As her ship drew near, rescue pods floated away from the burning human vessel. Through the smoke and fire, she saw him, standing alone on the bridge, still at his post, his eyes calm as if accepting his fate. Alara ordered the transport beam to activate, and within seconds Ethan appeared before her. He was injured but alive. His uniform was torn, face marked with ash, yet his eyes were steady and warm. "You never listen," he said weakly. "And you never give up," she replied softly, helping him stand. Their hands met, human and alien, two worlds connected once again. Around them, both fleets watched in silence, realizing what true strength looked like. Days later, peace negotiations began. For the first time in history, humans and Zelthari signed an alliance, not for war, but for understanding. Ethan and Alara stood together as symbols of unity. Reporters across the galaxy called him the bridge between stars. Children on both worlds learned his name in school books. And though politics would continue to challenge the new alliance, one truth remained clear. A single act of courage could change the destiny of worlds. That night, under the twin moons of Zelthar, Alara and Ethan stood on a quiet balcony overlooking the glowing city below. "Do you regret anything?" she asked softly. Ethan smiled. "Only that it took me 2 lives to find you again." Alara's eyes softened. "Maybe it had to happen this way. You were meant to bring our worlds together." He nodded. "And you were the reason I remembered who I am." They looked up at the sky, at the countless stars shining above them, no longer symbols of distance, but of connection. The war was over. The bridge between species had been built, and love, pure, patient, and eternal, had rewritten the story of 2 civilizations forever.